Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin our program. On behalf of the International Republican Institute, welcome to our 6th annual Jeane J. Kirkpatrick Award ceremony. A special welcome to our guests from abroad. Your lives of courage provide examples for us all, and we at IRI are honored to be working with you. I also want to introduce a number of board members who guide IRI: Gail Burt, Frank Fahrenkopf, Allison Fortier, Janet Grissom, and Olin Wethington. IRI established the Jeane J. Kirkpatrick Award in 2008 in memory of another longtime IRI board member and a strong advocate for IRI's women's programming, particularly the establishment of the Women's Democracy Network. Dr. Kirkpatrick was the first woman appointed to serve as the permanent representative of the United States to the United Nations, and she was a member of President Ronald Reagan's cabinet and National Security Council. For her distinguished career in government service, Dr. Kirkpatrick was awarded the Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian award, in May of 1985, and received her second Department of Defense Distinguished Service Public Service Medal, the highest civilian honor at the Department of Defense, in December of 1992. This award, named in her honor, salutes women who, like Dr. Kirkpatrick, make an outstanding contribution to the advancement of women in politics and civil society and serve as role models for women in ascending to similar leadership roles. Let me at this time also thank Judy Van Rest, who is IRI's Vice President, and Michelle Beckering and her whole crew. Judy and I returned to IRI together now many years ago with a number of ideas, and one of the things she came back with, one of the things we very much agreed on, was trying to elevate the role of women in politics abroad, and she and Michelle and her gang have done a wonderful job at that. We're very pleased that Constance Newman has agreed to present our first award this year to Senator Kelly Ayotte, who is already in her first term as a senator making her mark on national security issues. Connie, I'm going to brag about you, so don't come up so quick. Connie, a longtime IRI board member, has a career that is in itself a model for WDN members. Connie has served 7 different U.S. presidents in posts such as Director of the Office of Personnel Management and Assistant Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Under George W. Bush, she was Assistant Secretary for African Affairs at the State Department and served as President Bush's personal representative on G8 issues to Africa. In 2001, she was sworn in as the Assistant Administrator for Africa at the U.S. Agency for International Development, and she led efforts to administer economic and humanitarian assistance in Africa. Her international service as an IRI board member includes work in places like Afghanistan, Liberia, Ukraine, and Russia. Now I'm pleased to welcome Connie Newman to the stage.
Good afternoon. It really is an honor and a privilege for me to speak the names of 2 women who have made an outstanding contribution to the advancement of women in politics and who served as role models for Women's Democracy Network members. I'm referring, of course, to Jeane K. Kirkpatrick, in whose name we will be giving the award, but I'm adding to this the senator, Senator Kelly Ayotte, who is this year's awardee. Now let me share some of the reasons the senator deserves this award. She's from New Hampshire. I guess that's one reason, right, Senator? But it's very important for you to know that she has devoted her life to public service, including service as the first woman to serve as the state's Attorney General. And you should know that during her time as Attorney General, she worked with the law enforcement officials statewide to protect New Hampshire citizens, helping to distinguish the state as the safest state in the nation. I think she deserves an award and applause for that. She fought to pass tough new laws cracking down on sexual and internet predators, particularly those who target children. But that was the past. We are presenting this award for the past, for the present, and for the future. And speaking of the present, today in the Senate, the senator serves on the Armed Services, Homeland Security, Governmental Affairs, but I don't know how you do this, Budget, Commerce, and Aging Committees. Importantly, she is the ranking member on the Armed Services Subcommittee on Readiness and Management Support. Regarding both the present and the future, we applaud the fact that the senator is a recognized leading female voice on national security issues as an active member of the U.S. Senate Committee on Armed Services. We already know she will make a difference in addressing national security issues of the future. She was named Citizen of the Year in 2008 by the Union Leader, was recognized by the Business New Hampshire magazine as one of the 10 most powerful leaders in New Hampshire, and the New Hampshire magazine has listed her as one of the state's remarkable women. Today, on behalf of the Women's Democracy Network, it gives me great pleasure to add to the Senator's Awards the 2013 Jeane Kirkpatrick Award. So I'll ask the Senator to come forward. Now they have a place where you're supposed to stand, and I'm supposed to stand on this other one. Okay.
That is beautiful.
Is it?
First of all, Connie, thank you so much for your leadership, for your kind words, and you really are an inspiration in what you've accomplished in your life, and so grateful that you've been so engaged in the Women's Democracy Network, and I'm just really honored to be here with all of you today. I want to thank Lauren from IRI and the important work that IRI does around the world, and NDI together in promoting democracy and really standing up for the values that we all share as Americans. And of course, the Women's Democracy Network. Thank you for hosting this event. I'm just deeply, deeply honored to be here to receive this award, and I just want to commend you all for what you are doing to encourage women to get involved in public policy, civic engagement, and leadership positions, because we know that if we leave half the population out, that no country can reach its full potential, and that women's voices in leadership are so critical to making sure that the world can achieve its potential, and that we have a safer, more secure world where all countries are thriving and growing and all people can live in peace and with respect for basic human rights. And that's why what you are doing here at the Women's Democracy Network is so important to every country that is represented here today, but to all countries around the world, and particularly our own country, the United States of America. I have to say it's a deep honor to share this stage with Selima Ahmad in the amazing work that she has done, a successful businesswoman in promoting entrepreneurship, in really encouraging women in Bangladesh to thrive, to grow, to start their own business, and to show them a path forward to make sure that their voices are heard, but also to make sure that we don't lose the potential of women entrepreneurs, and also the girls that are coming up and have the great new ideas that are going to save our world from disease, and also going to bring the great new technological ideas to the world. And this is so important, and I'm deeply honored. I'm just so impressed with everything that you have done, and you are so deserving of this award for all of your hard work. And you really are a role model and inspiration for me and so many others. Most of all, I'm humbled to receive an award in the name of Dr. Kirkpatrick. When you look at the accomplishments, what a trailblazer she was, and what an amazing woman that she was, and particularly her focus on foreign policy, her expertise in showing that women have very strong and important voices in terms of America's role in the world, and also in particular the fact that she really, when you think about those of us who have run for political office, she is one of the people that we look to that showed us the way in terms of saying, yes, we can get more women involved in leadership positions in this country and throughout the world. And her legacy is a tremendous one, as reflected in the important work being done by the Women's Democracy Network. Of course, one of the most important ways we can get women involved in public service and leadership positions is through mentorship. And I know that everyone who is here today themselves was probably mentored by someone who made a difference in their lives, and that every woman who is here today, and man, has the opportunity to be a mentor in someone else's lives. And one of the things that I've been so impressed with is what the Women's Democracy Network has been doing in your development network, your efforts to foster mentoring, to connect people together, to show young women that there is a path forward, that there is a way that they can become engaged in their communities, in their countries, and make a difference in the conditions that their countries are facing, and making sure that their voices are heard. I said earlier, and I really believe it, that no country can thrive if half of its population, their voices are not heard. If we are not tapping into the talent and capability of women and all peoples in a society, then we are not going to achieve our potential. And one of the privileges I've had serving on the Armed Services Committee is to travel some other areas in the world. And as I meet with world leaders, whether it's in Afghanistan, whether it's in Egypt, whether it is in Burma, whether it's in Vietnam, I can tell you that every time I meet with a world leader, I always raise the issue of women's rights, and I always raise the issue of human rights. And where are these countries on many of these issues, and how important so many areas in the world we see where women, their voices are not heard, where they can't receive an education. Where they can't express their opinions. And so this Women's Democracy Network, what you're doing, more women in leadership will make sure that that doesn't continue to happen, both around the world and in this country. And I'm going to continue, as I meet other world leaders, to raise this issue, to press them, to ask them to do better, and to let them know that this is a very important issue to the United States of America, and that this is going to be a measure of accountability to us and our support for them. And so I think being here today is an honor to see so many in this audience who have been toiling in the fields on this issue and making sure they've shown so much courage. I know that each of you, it's an honor to be here with each of you that come from so many different countries around the world, and the courage that you have had to show in your daily lives just to have your voice heard. We can't even appreciate this in our country, the persecution that you have faced for speaking up. And please know that we stand with you, that you're an inspiration to us, that we want to help future generations of women leaders around the world to know that we will stand with them. And then when you face persecution, that we will stand by you, and we will say to your governments that we will hold you accountable. So don't ever feel that you are alone. I know you don't feel you're alone because you are here today, but understand that those of us who are in elected positions, we want to stand with you as well. And let me just say for a moment that, you know, we've had issues when we think about our own country and women in positions of leadership. We've made a tremendous amount of progress. In fact, I am a member of the New Hampshire delegation, which is the first all-women delegation in the United States of America, where we have both members of our Congress are women, both members of Congress are women, both senators are women, and our governor is a woman. It's the first time in the history of our country. And we now have a historic number of women serving in the Senate. We have 20 women senators, and by the way, I am here at IRI today. Only 4 of us are Republicans, so you know, please, I think that we've got room to grow and see more women in leadership positions in this country. And this is what's encouraged me, and I thought about this today when I think about the work that you're doing in this network, and the leaders that are here today, and how you are inspiring a future generation of leaders. And this is where I got my inspiration. You always wonder what your kids think when you run for office. I'm the mother of a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, and so them trying to understand why does mom have to go to Washington every week is a tough, you know, sometimes a tough conversation, and then trying to explain to them, you know, what we're trying to accomplish for the country. But my daughter came home one day from school, and she said to me, and I've told this story before, but this story has just touched me so much. She said to me, you know, Mom, I don't want you to run for president. And I looked at her and I said, Kate, I just got elected to the Senate. I am not running for president, and I have no plans to do that. I said, but why do you ask? And she said, well, because, Mom, I want to be the first woman president. So I think that shows the inspiration that we can bring to future generations of women, that something that I would have never thought of at 8 years old, she's already thinking about, how can I run for president? And so please keep up the work that you are doing. Your legacy is tremendous. The legacy of Dr. Kirkpatrick is tremendous, as represented by this award, and the important work that you're doing around the world. And I want to be a resource for you, and to continue to work with you, and to understand more how we can help you, and what issues we should be raising around the world. I very much appreciate your advice. The issues of how we promote women entrepreneurship and leadership around the world, and respect for basic women and human rights, which that's what we're talking about, is human rights, is an issue that's very important to me. And though I'm new to the Senate, please know that this is going to be an issue that I will continue to be engaged in. And your advice will make such a difference to me, because I'm still learning, and I know that each of you have been working very, very hard, and have done so much to advance the cause of women around the world. And so I just thank you so much for this great honor today, and for what you are doing around the world. It really does make a difference, and we have so much more work to do. So thank you.
Welcome to all of you, and as I look in the room, I'm very happy to see that we have nearly a full room. You know, we were a little concerned about that when we changed the date yesterday, but it worked out really well, so thank you all for coming. I am very pleased to say that this week marks the 7th anniversary of the Women's Democracy Network. On March 6, 2006, IRI initiated the network by bringing together women from 34 countries to help us figure out how WDN could increase women's participation in political and public life. Little did we know how overwhelming the response would be. Today, the Women's Democracy Network has 15 country chapters and programs in more than 60 countries around the world. We have a long way to go, however. Every year, the World Economic Forum produces a study called the Global Gender Gap Index, which reports on how women are doing in 4 important areas. That is, how the gender gap is closing in education, health, economic, and political participation. The 2012 report released last fall shows that women's political participation continues to lag far, far behind. The numbers are pretty amazing. According to the index, women have made tremendous advances in education and health, with the gender gap closed 96% in health and 93% in education, and even though behind 60% in economic progress. But when it comes to women's political participation, the gender gap is wide open, closed only 20%. That's why the programs the WDN offers are so crucial, and that's why we really appreciate all your support. Every year, WDN brings a group of its members to Washington, D.C. for advanced training and mentorship. This year, I am pleased to recognize the women leaders who are this year's participants. I ask each of you to please stand as I introduce you. From Argentina, Florencia Alsina. From Burma, Tartar. From Moldova, Christina Bouagi. From Nigeria, Hafsa Muhammad Baba. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Anisha Baptiste. From Syria, Razan Shalab al-Sham. Tunisia, Amassine Khalifa. From Ukraine, Maria Alexienko. And from Zimbabwe, Sally Dura. We are fortunate to have so many board members actively support the network, and I am pleased to introduce one of the members to present the second Jeane J. Kirkpatrick Award to our guest of honor from Bangladesh. Alison Fortier has devoted a lot of her valuable time to the Women's Democracy Network, traveling to places like Kenya, Lithuania, and Peru to train and mentor members of the network and providing the vital support and encouragement they need to become leaders. Since joining Lockheed Martin in 1996, Alison has served in a variety of top positions and is currently Vice President of Missile Defense at Lockheed Martin's Washington operations. Her career is incredibly impressive, having worked at the White House as the staff of the National Security Council, as well as on Capitol Hill, and was manager of legislative programs in the Washington office of the Rockwell International Corporation. She is a board member of the Women's High Tech Coalition. As you can see from her background, she is a particularly important role model for the women in WDN because she shows that women can attain leadership positions in non-traditional careers. She is greatly admired by all of us at IRI and the WDN members who are grateful for her dedication to their cause. So Alison, if you could join me, please.
Thank you very much, Judy. I really appreciate your very kind introduction. We all know that Jeane Kirkpatrick was an extraordinary woman. I had the privilege to know Jeane and to work with her on the IRI board. So it's very fitting that we present the award that we named in her honor to another extraordinary woman today, Selima Ahmad of Bangladesh. She has so many recognitions, it's difficult to name them all. She's been named as one of the top global women. She's been recognized for her contributions to the economy by the Islamic Development Bank and also by MBA Women International. She's been president of the Bangladesh Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And recently, I would note, she has been appointed to a bank in Bangladesh, the Sonali Bank, the only woman, I believe, on the board of directors, and they found themselves in some difficulty. So naturally, they had to turn to Selima, an extraordinary woman, to help them out, and we wish you luck in that endeavor. But what I would like to stress to you today, and what I would like each of you to take away as you think about your role when you return to your countries, is what Selima has done, not just for herself to gain recognition, but she is fully committed to bringing other women into the economic and political processes, and that's the important thing. We can all succeed and achieve great things, but together we can do much more. And looking out for other women, bringing them into the economy and into the political processes is extremely difficult. It is, but also extremely important. So as a chamber president, she worked with the government of Bangladesh and went to them and asked them to provide in Dhaka some free space, rent-free space, for women micro-entrepreneurs where they could come and display and sell their goods. And the government accepted her proposal, and they've gone forward with this, and I believe they're also going to expand it to other areas in Bangladesh. And this holds the promise of adding 20,000 jobs for women to the Bangladeshi economy. So what she has done is reached out and helped other women. She also is a founding member of the Women's Democracy Network chapter in Bangladesh, highly successful, and it has been recognized by the United Nations Democracy Fund with a grant to develop leadership schools for women, because it's not only bringing women into the economy, but it's bringing women into the political process of each country. That's extremely important. So Selima has not just been satisfied with helping to found these schools. She personally has been engaged in the schools and has trained herself over 100 women. This is indeed what's extraordinary. It is my great honor and privilege to welcome Selima Ahmad to the podium today to recognize her.
Good afternoon. You know, when the date was changed from 6 to 7, I thought this is because of me, because I was born on 7th July. And I was married on 7th January. So it has to be an award on 7th of this month. So don't blame anyone. Good afternoon. I think it's an honor to receive this award, especially with my co-winner, Senator Ayotte. I think she is an inspiration for all of us. We, the women of Bangladesh, struggle every day to be noticed, to achieve our goals, as our agenda is immensely important, and we have to keep running to secure our rights. My journey towards women's development in the private sector with an aim to bring women beyond micro-enterprise was not easy. I had to continuously advocate for their issues and facilitate access to market and finance and build their capacity through training. Bangladesh has a huge, large youthful population, of which more than half are women. In a globe filled with creativity, with the incredible power of communications, everybody is drawn into the excitement of the promise of the globalized world. In this complex and interesting times, our work rose in geometrically, and the demand keep growing even higher pace. This is engaging, exciting, accelerating, enabling, and empowering. Receiving this recognition and award from Women's Democracy Network IRI is truly humbling. I grew into my business from startup and made it into a corporation with several businesses. I took upon myself to get into totally male-dominated trade bodies to voice my needs and the needs of women. I found that these trade bodies were mostly becoming entities of political parties and political access of private interest. I set upon myself to create a separate Chamber of Commerce for women, which took me 6 months to secure a temporary commission, but took 7 years to get the formal recognition after years litigation at the highest court in the country. Throughout this period, until today, we have been focused in our working in networking, in mobilizing resources for our organization to contribute to the development of women entrepreneurs. Today, Bangladesh Women Chamber of Commerce and Industry have thousands of women entrepreneurs who are generating income for themselves and creating employment, have strong financial position, properties, and probably we are more active than most of the trade bodies in Bangladesh. Our needs are huge, and the expectation of the women entrepreneurs are also huge. BWCCI can name each individual business of its members and how we help them to gain markets and finance in order to succeed. This is because women entrepreneurs have much less resources and far less informal support, and therefore a helping hand from Women's Chamber is essential. Our work has been recognized by UN Women, Asian Development Bank, Canadian CEDA, USAID, Center for International Private Enterprise, SIPE, Women's Democracy Network, Danida, Netherlands governments, EU, Commonwealth Secretariat, and several other organizations. We become richer in our activities because of their supports and cooperation. I see myself in my sister from Burma or Syria, and I see myself in my sister from around the world of WTN. And I have faith in the determination that we all have shown the promise is not elusive, but very real. We all have to keep faith and plan our growth, and the time is now. Helen Keller said, "The most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen, not touched, but are felt in the heart." But I could see that Shahana, beaten by her husband every day for no reason. Razia was thrown by her in-laws because she has given birth to 3 daughters, not a son. 13 years old Lipi was raped because she was going to school. But I could also feel the empowered women who received training from the Women's Democracy Network, 100 women of grassroots women, who says, "We never knew that our constitution gives equal right." Someone said, "Oh, I was fighting with my husband, and he was trying to give marriage to my 12 years old girl. Now I know from this training that before 18, it's illegal." I could see that how much torture, mentally, physically, our women faces. And we have to bring political and economic empowerment, because that is so, so important. When we had the Women's Leadership School last year, and I trained about more than 100 women, and also women entrepreneurs who would like to run for offices. And then they say, "You know, we are aimless. We are working with our political parties, but they are never giving us a nomination. Now I know how to bargain. Now I know how to set my goal. Now I know how to manage conflict. And now I know how to build my team." And that is because of Women's Democracy Network. I personally, truly, from my heart, thank WDN, Erika, Michelle, because it's the real, I get emotional. Because without their support, Lisa and others, I couldn't do. The SIPE has given me so much. 2 policies in favor of Bangladeshi women entrepreneurs. A separate allocation in the bank, 10,000 women entrepreneurs received that bank loan, and they are generating income. I could see Afrin. She started a business with $50, and now she's sitting in the highest fashion mall and generating about 100 employees. And that is because we got an access to finance, and that was supported by SIPE. And so many things happen. Every day when I wake up with 2 wings of my dream. That is to see democracy. democracy in all spheres of life, equal opportunity, equal prospect, equal participation between men and women. And I promise you that I will protect and nurture my two wings of my dreams to bring women's empowerment, because they are my heartbeat and freedom of my soul. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a little humbling to come up to the stage after that. And just in my closing, I think the one thing I can say, and that was just evidence to all of you, is that Selima is the reason we have the Women's Democracy Network. At the end of the day, if we didn't have women leaders like Selima, who aren't so vested in actually giving back to other women in their communities, there's really no gains we could make across the world. We do our part to hopefully support and encourage, but it is the women like Selima, and it's our other members here who have joined us today, who really make this goal of women's empowerment a reality. So I want to thank all of you. I also want to thank my staff for all of their work. They're the ones who actually make sure these programs get implemented, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank them. So in closing today, as you've heard earlier, WDN is now active in 61 countries in every region of the world. And as I said, this is a large endeavor. It would not be possible without our members. It would also not be possible without our American members. These are women who contribute their time, their expertise, and their financial support to our programming. And in recognition of this support, I'm really pleased to announce today the launch of WDN's Council. This council consists of 16 American women who are instrumental in supporting our mission of global women's empowerment. Unfortunately, because of this snowstorm and the postponement of our luncheon, we can't have all the council members here today, but I'm really pleased that some of you were able to join us. And so I would just like to announce our council members, and then if you could join me afterwards in applause. The council is led by Mrs. Cindy Mccain. As our honorary chair, she brings her considerable expertise in improving the lives of those less fortunate, both in the United States and around the world. In recent years, Mrs. Mccain has focused her efforts on supporting women's rights, meeting with and speaking to WDN members all across the world, and on children's health care initiatives, including through the American Voluntary Medical Team, which she helped found. Mrs. Mccain will be joined on the council by the following members: Megan Badash, Judy Black, Stacy Carlson, Tony Ann Dashiell, Ambassador Paula Dobriansky, Valerie Dowling, Sarah Taylor Fagan, Karen Johnson, Doreen Kintz, Ann Liebschutz, Anita McBride, Mary Pishek, Deb Sofield, Leslie Waters, and Rachel Woods. So if you'll please join me in a round of applause for their support. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank several individuals who have helped WDN this year with our fundraising efforts, and that is Rebecca Posey and Anna Carcani-Rold. We really appreciate the help you have provided to us. And also lastly, thanks to the Donovan Hotel and Elite Island Resorts for their generous donations to our silent auction. All the proceeds today from the sale as well as the silent auction will go directly to WDN programming. So I will take this moment to remind you that the silent auction is still open, as well as the sale. We'll keep that open until 2 o'clock. So I invite you to check out the table in the back and bid on any items. And we will be, after 2 o'clock, we'll close down the auction, and then we'll be alerting the winning buyers by this evening. So with that, I will conclude, and I will say once again, on behalf of IRI and WDN, thank you again for attending today's luncheon and celebrating with us our international delegation, which is here today with us from all around the world. We also want to specifically thank Selima Ahmad and Senator Ayotte for agreeing to accept our award. Truly, the honor was ours, so thank you very much. Together, we are all making a difference, and that would not be possible without your support, so thank you very much.